Zhang and David, for this fascinating discussion. I think it's very clear to all of us that robust frameworks and governance are going to be necessary for us to capture the emerging opportunity in AI. But I expect that most people in this room, like myself, are very excited about that opportunity. That's why our next panel is an executive panel titled AI Unleashed: Practical Applications in the Real World. We're going to be diving into both the basic science and the diverse applications of artificial intelligence, with a particular focus on its role in healthcare, software, and education. We'll discuss how investors, clients, and governments can harness the full potential of AI while mitigating its risks. Moderating this panel will be Steve Nuri, founder of AI for Diversity. Steve is frequently cited as one of the top international authorities on artificial intelligence and data science, and his work has profoundly transformed the way the world perceives AI and innovation. Please welcome to the stage Steve Nuri.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for the kind intro. We have a superstar panel discussion about AI, which is the topic that you hear about almost every day. I'm going to just jump right into it and introducing our great panelists. So, Valerie Hawley, Executive Director of Corporate Partnership, Center of Artificial Intelligence. Valerie is a Director of Corporate Partnership in Abu Dhabi, an entity aiming hence AI capabilities across the Middle East, focusing on healthcare, financial services, and climate change. Welcome, Valerie. I mean, you can anywhere you want. Simon See, Professor, Shanghai Jiaotong University. Simon is a solution architect, engineer, senior director, chief solution architect, and head of global head for NVIDIA AI Technology Center. Thank you very much, Simon. Alex Jabaranov.
We're here.
Yes, please. Alex is co-founder and CEO of Insilico Medicine. He co-founded a leading end-to-end generative AI-driven biotech company with a mission to accelerate drug discovery. Thank you very much. Henry Kha. He's Executive Director and Chief Financial Officer of Kingsoft Cloud Holding Limited in China. He's responsible for financial planning of one of the world's leading cloud computing service providers. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, everyone, for...
One more.
Oh, sorry for that. I'm so sorry. So we have Donna Leong. He's a Grammy Award winner, musician. And we would love to talk about music and art, so please.
Dana, like Dana White from UFC.
Yes, that's great to have you. Sorry for that. All right. So the discussion is going to be about something that we hear about very, very often these days. We're going to talk about the potentials. As you know, ChatGPT is changing our lives daily. Our students getting great marks, and corporates are also excited about how they can leverage it, although there are some concerns about privacy and hallucination. But here, we're going to dive deeper in a more balanced view of how AI can help us, what are the risks, and how we mitigate these risks. So in order to start, I would like to start by you, Valerie. Can you tell us about the key elements that AI is unlocking some of these commercial values for technologies? And how do you think these, how do you think this AI is being leveraged to, to unlock the commercial value for technologies?
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. Well, I think AI is about efficiency. It's about optimization and automation. So therefore, it's quite clear that that has the potential to unlock economic value, and that's why it's so ubiquitous in every single business nowadays, because everybody is trying to be more efficient, to optimize, to predict the future, and AI algorithms are there to actually help that. But there are also many risks associated in terms of what are the data, the input data that have been chosen, how representatives from the perspective of the world they are. Because we need to not forget that what is embedded into an algorithm is actually the perspective of the world of the developers, and that's perhaps just one perspective. So there are many risks associated with AI as well, and I think we will discuss that later on.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Henry, we would like to hear from you. You're from a cloud provider company. So how these AI applications are helping corporates, and specifically, what are the priorities for these cloud providers to leverage AI to help B2B?
Thank you.
Hi.
We are actually
I'm the
one
MC,
of
I'm the event MC.
largest independent cloud company running China. Obviously, we have the cloud part, but also working on the office software part. And right now, we have about 580 million active monthly users running on the cloud platform, both in China and some outside mainland China. We're also supporting the infrastructures for the gaming part and also including the Xiaomi business within the mainland China. So going back to the question, the reason I just want to lay out the background is traditionally the cloud company, they are facing some technology challenges. For example, the resource heavy, CapEx heavy, and you need to basically cut off between the verticals of the IaaS, PaaS, and the SaaS services. With the AI is coming, actually the business model and technology model is changing and evolving by combining three important components, meaning the model itself, the data itself, and the user scenarios itself. The user scenarios become more important for the cloud company because it used to be the clients actually own their end users and the user scenarios. But in today's environment, you need to combine the data, combine the end user scenarios and user case to become a better model. And the cloud company need to go one way or one step further to integrate those key elements to make the AI a real production tool, rather than a resource providers to simply provide those resources to the users. Those have become more important. And who in the cloud industry can combine those things and integrate that into a full solution? We call that MaaS as a service or model as a services. Obviously, different people have a different fancy name as to testing out, but who can combine that and changing the traditional kind of in the cloud native environment to an AI cloud native environment to become a new business model is really a new challenge and a work we are working on. And obviously, the second part, to quickly jump on that, is if you look at how many kind of cloud providers in the advanced markets for any single clients are using. In the advanced markets, more than 75 of the clients are using 2 or more than 2 cloud providers. In China, especially mainland China today, the number is about 15%. So which means that as independent and neutral player, the neutrality become more important, and the data sensitivity and the data neutrality become more important for the model developer and the training exercise as well. And that actually is different phases of the development phases that the AI is facing between different markets. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry. I mean, we would like to know more about the application. So I'm going to ask more questions about real-world applications and how it's helping us. So from you, Simon, can you tell us about some of these great projects, notable AI projects that are positively, I guess, changing the world?
Well, hello. Yep. Guys, can you hear me? Yep. Yeah. So
I'm extremely hungry.
AI, well, generally, I will classify artificial intelligence into a couple of classes. One of them is the predictive artificial intelligence, where you use it for facial recognition, You use it for voice recognition, predicting the time series and whatsoever. Those technologies are pretty mature. Although there's still a lot of work to be done, but they are mature enough to be applied. So you could see that in medicals, used in medical science, doctor used for imaging for diagnosis of cancers and stuff like this. You see that in surveillance for facial recognitions, or you could use it for people countings and so forth. So those technology are all being used. They are all well run. What is interesting over the last couple of months is actually the area of generative AI, where now you're using artificial intelligence to actually generate out new information, right? So one examples will be things will be like Stable Diffusion, where DALL-E is, Midjourneys, and so forth. So those are actually going to affect a lot of people who are doing content creation and so forth. The other one is actually large language models. The large language models, you guys hear all about ChatGPT, but this is only the fringe and the early part of how that technology is being used. At the moment right now, you can see that it's being used it will be used in many other things. Things will be like, the Copilot we're talking about. Things will be used like using for use it for doing autonomous agents, making decisions, and so forth. So every single aspect, I would expect every single aspect that you think that can be automated will be automated by AI.
That's great, Simon. You put it together very nicely. And as you mentioned, generative AI, I'm going to get to our great musician, the Grammy Award winner, Dana. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this generative AI is impacting the music industry and art in general?
So I think that Simon has put it very eloquently that the areas of generative AI in terms of language processing, in terms of image generation, have hit certain inflection points in the last season. However, I think that music's fingerprint is a lot more complicated. For example, if you take the example of the Beatles, right? They're classified as pop and rock and roll. Yet when you listen to their music, not one of every song sounds the same. They use exotic instrumentations like the sitar and the mellotron. They use different changing of tempos, different volumes. And as a band, it's rare that they also change the lead singer from song to song. So if you were to simply go to a generative AI today and say, make me a song in the style of rock and roll, the Beatles is one of thousands of bands that fall under this category. So the fingerprint is far more complicated. However, we will hit that inflection point. And when we do, that's when we got to buckle up. And you better be ready to hold on to that runaway train because it's going and we're not stopping. But as you had mentioned as well, what we can leverage at the moment is optimization of workflows. And so we heavily rely on like pattern recognition, file categorization, and a lot of things that help make our workflows a lot faster.
That's great. I mean, we're going to talk about the risk as well later. Now we are more excited about the positive impact. So that's great to hear. I love Midjourney. I generate a lot of art, and I hope that in future we all can be able to generate more of this content easily and faster and cheaper. But now I'm going to go back to the industry applications. Alex, based on your background in healthcare, what are the areas that you're seeing AI, and specifically generative AI, is impacting the health industry, and what does the future look like?
So I think that out of all applications of generative AI, the most profound impact will be in healthcare, and specifically in drug discovery. So our company, if you don't know us, we are one of the largest, if not the largest player in this field now. My first paper in generative AI for small molecule generation using desired properties as generation conditions in cancer was published 2016, and then we published many, many other papers. But now we have multiple human clinical trials. The most advanced one is in phase 2. But to put you in perspective, to discover a drug, to put it on the market, it takes you about 12 years on average. And within big pharmaceutical companies, it takes about $6.1 billion to put one drug on the market. So last year, the FDA approved about 50 drugs. In my opinion, about 7 of them were pretty much, we can consider them innovative. So it's a very rare event to get a great drug on the market. And that's the most challenging task for human intelligence. It requires you many, many years to become a great chemist or a biologist or a doctor. To discover a drug and put it on the market, you need to have all three. And nobody has this kind of knowledge. Very few people in the industry are great drug hunters. There is maybe thousands of them in the world. So AI allows you to do several things. It allows you to automate many tasks, but that's simple, right? So we are not in dramatic need of automation. We are in dramatic need of synthesis of all this knowledge in chemistry, biology, and medicine, and bridging the gap between chemistry, biology, and medicine in a very long time frame. So you need to have longitudinal data going from discovery all the way to human clinical trials and approval, and then post-marketing exploration. So AI can help you synthesize all that and come up with new hypotheses for new biological targets, mechanisms of disease, then generation of novel chemistry, and predictions of clinical trials. And now those AI systems that are validated enough to generate molecules that can go into human clinical trials, they can now run robotics labs to facilitate genuine scientific exploration, exploitation, and genuine invention. So very often humans just miss out on opportunities coming from biological and chemical data. So AI doesn't do that. It does not really forget or create any kind of oversight if you train it well. And now we can see pretty much miracles in drug discovery. So currently you can buy anything for money. Many of your basic needs are satisfied. The only thing you cannot do is convert money into time. And I think over time, AI will help you do that.
Thanks, Alex. Simon, would you like to?
Yeah, so I want to act on what he has said. It's not just only in life science, but also in the area of design and engineering and architecture. So a lot of my collaborators, I'm applied mathematicians. I work a lot with the engineering folks. So one of the biggest problems when you design a product is that you lack of time to actually design the product. It is that you are being creative, you are creative, but you do not have the time to design all the various variations. Think of it this way. If you are trying to design a water bottle, right, you know that you have certain specification on the water bottles. And what you could do right now is that you could actually ask the algorithms to say, I have this specification. I want the water bottle to do this, and that. Generate out what are the possible design. It could generate 1,000 possible design. And out of that 1,000 possible design, you could then actually choose the type of design that actually befitting for you. And then after that, of course, you go through some other automations, simulations, and so forth. That could actually cut down your design time tremendously, because now you have the computers to actually help you to generate out the different ideas that you have. The same goes to the ideas of the drug design. The other things, for examples, where you use ChatGPT, and I took the word ChatGPT, right? It's more of a large language models. The large language model right now, we can actually use it to actually help to advise on how to design different products. Many of the times, as an engineer, sometimes what we have is that when we design a product, we make a lot of errors. And what we do right now, we can actually have this kind of algorithms to actually advise us where are the mistakes that we have made, and so forth. So that helps to cut down the engineering design times and so forth.
That's great. Thanks, Simon. I would like to, I guess, jump into the second part of the discussion, which is more about the risks. And I would like to hear from Valerie, like how we are mitigating and addressing these risks, and what are we doing great now, and what we should do to make it better.
Yeah, so for me, there are three main risks. I mean, I think one of the risks has been already seen with, for example, the facial recognition algorithm that doesn't recognize different categories of people with the same accuracy. You've probably all seen, or if you haven't, I would encourage you to see Coded Bias on Netflix. It's a very good documentary on it. So in fact, it's a discrimination of minority because input data of the software of the algorithm has not been is not completely fully representative of the reality. So I think that's one of the first risks. The second risk is what we call the bubble effect, where at the end of the day, algorithms are based on past data and they are often used to predict the future. So it makes it difficult to have a real different point of view because you're in fact looking at what has happened in the past. I mean, if you see the customer profiling algorithm, they have a tendency of frame the customer into something that he can't get out because he's in a category and he keeps being shown advertising and suggestion and advice that keeps him in this category, and he has not the possibility to move from one category to the other. So that's another risk. Another risk is also the environmental cost of running this algorithm. I mean, Google is spending between 4 and 12 million. Obviously, it's not a known number, but between 4 and 12 million dollars on energy bill to run the algorithm. ChatGPT, the bill for ChatGPT is multiplied by 10 every year. So the environmental cost of running this algorithm is huge. There are some alternative solutions that are starting to emerge, but they are not completely fully mature. So that will have to be solved. And the last one, perhaps, it's to talk about the asymmetry, and it comes back to the education, the asymmetry of information between the scientists, the developers, and then the politicians, the lawmakers, the users, because some of the users are, they have a credit score that is attached to them, but they don't know why they have been given that score, and there is no way that they can defend themselves legally because we don't know what is in the black box. So I think these risks are very, very important, and we need to address them. It comes with a set of best practice about the input data, about the development of the algorithm, also about the monitoring and the auditing of the algorithm once they are in production. And I would love to see a global framework for this best practice to happen. For explainable AI, as we discussed earlier, Steve, for fairness, for impact assessment of this algorithm. So we have a consensus at the global level to develop things for the good and not for the bad.
Thanks, Valerie. As you mentioned, there are many risks that are involved, and we all need to be aware of it and address them. I'd like to hear from Henry. Like, corporates wants to leverage AI as much as possible. I mean, generate revenue, and a lot of them are actually terrified of using like something like generative AI, which hallucinate. They have accuracy problems and things like that. Like, what are the issues that you are seeing, and how these corporates need to address that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I probably put this question kind of one step back. A few things to share. First of all is, everyone is paying the electricity bills every month, phone bills every month, and right now we're taking about the past 8-10 years in the emerging markets to educate the clients. Okay, the cloud IT infrastructure is something you need to pay every month, right? But right now, my view is, going forward, you're going to receive the phone bills every month, electricity bills every month, cloud bills every month, which are educated successfully recently. But going forward, you're going to receive the AI power bills probably every month because it's going to be an infrastructure, right? And people need to get used to that. And then it's coming to a next question is, in the previous panel this morning, I think Sean is talking about accessibility and the fairness of people accessing the infrastructure, right? Talking about the financial markets. But again, AI is going to be an infrastructure going forward, sooner or later. And we need to think about how to deploy the resources globally and in-country by corporates to the people and corporates and clients who needs the AI computing capability and which cost and at certain risk levels. So the ROE question is about resource allocation and it's about fairness as well. So coming back to the question is, it's really about a few things. One is need to think about the kind of changing or upgrading the ESG standards, not only from the data privacy perspective, but also regarding the access, the fairness, the transparency of the AI as an infrastructure, who may get that. The second, from the client perspective, also from the cloud provider who is more providing perspective, is going to be a board decision, which takes to a next level of the decision-making process is, we all know ChatGPT is, 4 is better than 3.5, 3 is better than 2. And right now, for example, Kingsoft, we have about 580 million users, which about 50% to 55% of the Chinese population today using WPS Kingsoft Office every day. And among that, 20% are using every day to do Excels, PowerPoints, write reports to their boss and direct reports. And it's going to take enormous cost going forward if everyone fearlessly need to use ChatGPT 4.0. So if you look at the vertical is how many people use that. If you look at the horizontal is how many people use that. But vertical is, do we need to access 4.0 at that level of the computing accuracy by rather balance out if in the office usage scenario, in that vertical, we're changing a generative model to a vertical model, but still have the same standards, but lower cost, so people can fearlessly access the AI capability for more people, and that can have a positive feedback loop and going to help the industry going forward. I think this probably the question is the board level discussion, but also as a policy making kind of considerations as well. I think this kind of a few things. Obviously, another thing is model need to take the data to become better, and output the data help people to resolve the production issues and problems. And then how we to think about is going to be a public environment or public cloud, or in certain scenarios, for example, the healthcare, you need to deploy that in a hybrid or private environment, and the ROE will be different. I think those are going to be a top-level decision and which technology path is going to be choose and help to achieve the end objectives. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Arian. Discussing more about that, Simon, would love to hear how corporates, based on your background, can collaborate with governments to have a better responsive AI applications developed for the general public's good.
Repeat the question.
Sorry, I would like to know how corporates can collaborate with government to be able to generate these AI applications that are more responsible and can be used for global good.
Right. So one of the things is that I think it's very important that the government, unfortunately, many of the government is not really ready for, or rather they do not really understand artificial AI enough. So many of the country, of course, a large country like the US, China itself, China is one of the forefront in regulations. And then in UAE and whatsoever, you do have the regulators and so forth. Now the government needs to actually understand where these technologies are actually going, how these technologies are actually working. Now, for example, if I ask most of you here, many of you here, and in fact, many of the times I ask a question, what does GPT stand for? GPT actually stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, right? And a lot of people forget about the word generative. Basically, it means that it does not give you facts. It generates out information. It does not give you facts. So that is the very important things. So one of the things, again, if you ask many of the government officials, they wouldn't understand what does GPT stands for. And that's why they would say that, oh yeah, if I use GPT for some of my office work, to use the right policies, whatever, that's absolutely very dangerous because the word itself is generative. So the government will have to work with, need to have a authoritative body to actually work with the commercial company to actually understand what is the underlying technology, how the technology actually works, where is it going, where the data is coming from. So regulator, I do not encourage over-regulating, but I do encourage the government to actually work with the commercial company to set up think tanks to actually understand where the technologies are going, how it can be deployed, what is the impact, what is the social impact, and so forth.
That's great. Thanks, Simon. I mean, regulators and governments are going to be a key player in this conversation to make sure that AI is going to be used responsibly for the public. But I'm going to talk about the public right now. We are all leveraging AI to generate lots of content, and these contents can be images, music, text, video, and a lot of other things. One of the considerations is copyright. The other is about the future of work for the artists and how their content are being leveraged to replicate similar ones. So, Dana, I would like to hear from you, like, what are the negative aspects and risks from the leveraging these AI applications to generate content? And specifically, I want to touch on something, I mean, it's in news that everybody knows about it, the writers' strike. They are all worried about what's going to happen in the future for them if these large corporates are leveraging AI. So what are your takes?
So earlier, Henry, you had mentioned that you have systems in place with your researchers to sort of verify the authenticity of answers and sort of kind of funnel better ways to minimize the amount of mistakes. I would love to know, how you guys are going about doing that. Obviously, in an artistic standpoint, sometimes a mistake can be beautiful, right? But other times it can be detrimental to a project or to an entire, industry, right? Fact checking and things are very important. As Valerie had mentioned, also from a financial standpoint, the term technical analysis is like looking at the past and trying to predict the future based on a chart. And we all know that could work sometimes, based on speculation of morals and the way that markets have moved, but it could also just be hocus pocus, right? But I'm curious, how do you go about putting in frameworks to kind of better identify these mistakes, and how do we improve based on that? Because part of the problem that's emerging now is, a few years ago in high schools, they said, we should do away with the whole notion of open book, closed book. Let's let kids use Google while they take the test. Because in the real world, we all open up our phone and we ask Google, maybe 100 times a day for an answer. And so if you're unable to do that, then maybe you're not actually adept to pass through, basic courses. Now, as we get into the generation that we're using ChatGPT, and we don't actually, somebody may be learning or turnkeying a Python script, but they've never touched a script or don't know the basics of it. How do we then verify, the authenticity of that? That becomes a huge problem. Now, I'll pass back to Henry in a second here. The second is you mentioned about intellectual properties. I think the baseline, besides the Hollywood writers being afraid of, the sort of bedroom writer being able to turnkey a script, one of the things that has emerged is also the idea of just one-time usage on IPs. I think that folks like Brad Pitt have been speaking up, and other actors have been kind of upset at the idea that, in the past, if they appeared in a TV commercial or in a movie, they would be paid every single time that streamed on an airplane, on a big screen, on a phone, etc. Yep. Now they're trying to get to the point where they say, well, things can be generated so quickly. Let's just pay you once for your voice imprint or for your kindness on, as a generated avatar, and move on with it. Now that would severely disrupt the the industry in many, many ways. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this. But like I said, how do we kind of pull the reins on what you had mentioned, this whole idea of generative nature versus fact? And what are some of the frameworks that you're putting in place with your researchers to actually narrow that down, as you mentioned?
Well, honestly, I really do not have an answer for that, right? I think this is basically very much of a research topics, but maybe the other guys, the other panelists will have an answer for this. But one of the things is that we are inside NVIDIA itself, we have data governance groups which we actually make sure that the data, all the data that we actually train on, we actually either purchase it, have a copyright behind it whatsoever. Every time we want to do a training on a particular models, we got to run through the data governance groups to make sure that the data that we are using are not some data that we will be sued maybe 10 years down the road, and so forth. So, but to some of your question, I do not really have an answer for it.
That's all right. Valerie,
I think the blockchain technology might, in the future, have some answer for that.
Yeah, let's hope for that. I mean, it shows that we haven't rehearsed all the questions, so that's great to be natural. But I would like to take the time and hear from each one of you. What does the future of AI look like? Let's say in 5 years, how AI is going to change the way we work. Would you like to start, Henry?
Actually, probably
very quickly, sorry.
Yeah, so I think who adopt AI skills will live in a more happier life, and they will have more time with family and the kids, and they can enjoy the time while doing great work and receive the credits from the boss every day. I think that's probably the way forward. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Alex?
So I think it will depend largely on geopolitics quite a bit, because currently we see a lot of separation and segmentation of different and polarization of the world. So actually one of the benefits of being here in the Middle East and in the UAE specifically is that you can maintain certain neutrality. We have a very substantial R&D site here in Abu Dhabi. But from the technological perspective, I think that multimodal large language models, multimodal transformers are a very promising field. Also, you are likely to see some early birds of quantum computing. Some of the specific areas of generative can be accelerated with quantum quite a bit. We've just demonstrated that in a couple papers, specifically in generative chemistry, because chemistry is kind of very natively can be put on quantum. And I think that now AI is becoming very democratized, and you've got multiple Lego blocks that you can play with. So you can bring together very substantial, very sophisticated intelligent systems with autonomous agents, with private multimodal transformers, with public foundational models, and with other machine learning techniques and non-machine learning techniques that allow you for interpretation, explainability, and achievement of specific industry-focused goals. So I think that AI is going to be democratized quite a bit. I'm just afraid of geopolitics and fragmentization, especially in biomedicine, because all of us are humans, all of us are getting older, and every day we live, we actually lose something after reaching our peak. So we have to think about that. We're all on the clock. I actually think that the major impact of AI is going to be in aging research, because AI is very good at understanding human longitudinal data from birth to death. And you can really identify those dual-purpose therapeutics that are playing a role in aging a disease. That's another area that I think is going to be very promising in the next 5 years.
Thanks, Alex. Looking forward to that particular application.
Yes, I think I agree with Alex. I think healthcare is going to be absolutely revolutionized by AI. I also believe that the technology can solve quite a lot of the climate change challenges, and that will be great. I think AI is a global technology, so it puts us in front of our global responsibilities, if I can say. Climate change has already done that, and we haven't been too successful. Hopefully, with AI conversation, we might be able to find a greater consensus and work together for a better planet. That's what I hope, anyway. And in terms of education, I think we will have to rethink what we teach our children, because obviously our jobs are going to be impacted. And I think we will have to teach new skills, how to manage algorithm, how to design, how to understand all these kind of things that the AI still can't do.
Perfect. Thanks, Valerie.
Right. So I could disagree with what Henry has said. In the sense is that AI, those who use AI may make you happier. I'm not that sure about that because when I was a graduate student, I was very happy that when I sent the email, it take me, the other side take me about a few days to actually reply, which then I can relax. Now, if my boss send me an email, if I don't reply within the next 1 hour, will send me a text. Why have not you replied the email, right? So I'm not that sure about that. The speed actually will make me happier. But what is going to be is that 5 years is just way too long. Every month right now, you see thousands and thousands of new algorithms, new application is coming out. It is almost unpredictable. It's exponential at the moment right now. But what I would like to see, and again, I am a science fiction freak, and I'm a math scientist. I would like to see Jarvis in Iron Man. Because as a scientist, I would like to have an assistant that able to help me to develop my mathematical algorithms. One who can write my algorithms, write my mathematical equation in double quick time. And and we are going towards that direction. Now, with all the new technology coming out, not just the large language models, not just with reinforcement learning, with continuous on learning, which we didn't have a chance to touch on, is going to bring us there closer. And I do not know when it's going to be, but I would like to see Jarvis in my lifetime.
That's great. All
Very
right,
cool.
Dana.
So you need the AI email autoresponder. I'm not sure it's going to make us happier either, but like I said before, it is a runaway train, and you either hold on for dear life and go, or you get left behind. All sayings and all cliches are based in truth, and they say that you won't be replaced by AI. You may be most likely replaced by a person that uses AI. So what I feel is a positive of why we're here today with SuperBridge and why we're here in general is the key factor is cross-sector collaboration. I might be one of the only musicians here. Maybe besides, show of hands, any other musicians? All right, yeah, so I'm the only musician here. So like I said, cross-sector collaboration is key. We'd love to look at where there are developments in data, developments, in the understanding of the human condition, and use that to basically enhance what we do with art. So we are very focused with Tectonic Music on music that is focused for mood enhancement, and that is a wide umbrella. But basically, what I say is now we are creating multiple partnerships with medical institutions who already have a deep understanding of kind of mental conditions and biorhythms and whatnot. And we are designing programs to research further the relationship between music and the brain. So if you are out there in that sector, please come talk to me because I really want to learn more and continue to develop in that space. We all know that music is healing, has the power to change and uplift you, and has the power to really work as a modality of medicine, and it has, every single monumental moment of history is marked by a song, and your life as well. From the moment you are born, happy birthday to you, right, to the moment you die, dun, 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 right? They all have songs. Graduation, dun, 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 right? Every marker in your life that means something has music. And so that's why we're here to understand what is it about music that becomes ceremonial and important and is handed on to the next generation. So let's use the AI as a tool to basically enhance us as humans and to connect deeper and to collaborate and elevate together.
That's great. Thank you very much, awesome panelists. Hope we are going to have AI to help us to live longer and have the Jarvis to do our work and are listening to music and enjoying our lives. So thank you very much. And let's give it up for the great panelists sharing our. Thank you very much.